It was truly an amazing shot, and nobody on this team has more confidence in this kind of situation than Frank Bonjavingo. He told me during the timeout, "Coach, I can make it, I can make it." And call it what you may, he did.
Newcastle High will have a chance for a clean sweep of the high school basketball titles after beating Penn Hills 101-95 to qualify for the PIAA finals this Saturday. Newcastle won the WPIAL championship just 2 weeks ago. The incredible thing about this victory was that the 5 starters accounted for 98 of the 101 points, and that the combined total of 196 was the most ever in the state of Pennsylvania for a playoff game. When it was over, R.D. Thompson talked with the winning coach.
It's the greatest feeling in the world. I think of 22 years of coaching, this is the thing I've longed for. I dreamed about this, and now we're #1, the best in the West. And I got to thank these kids and these fans from the bottom of my heart.
You got to think 100 points in a high school game in 32 minutes is incredible.
Believe me, that's the first time, and I can remember in the history of the school, we've ever done it. And it wasn't by design. Just one of those games, I guess.
This game before a roaring crowd pointed up something the Newcastle team did all season. They did what they had to do to win. If they needed 50 points, they got 50. If they needed 70, they got 70. And when they needed 101, they got 101. Penn Hills let the Canes run, and run they did, punctuated by some long-range bombing by Bonjavingo. At long last, the Canes were in the big one.
Inside. Bobby Natal off to Wetzel, back to Natal, shot up and in. Fast break, Bonjavingo from 17, shot no good. Rebound, Bruce, shot up, good. Newcastle has their biggest lead at 13. Missenhelder now has 12. Canes lead it by 11. Bonjavingo against the box and 1. Seneca takes Wetzel. Bonjavingo lets it fly and good. They're in a straight 1-3-1 defense now, the Indians. Bobby Natal to Bonjavingo once again. Same result. He knocked it home. Russell Bruce to shoot a pair. The left-hander lets it go and hits it. Newcastle lead is 10. Second one perfect. Missenhelder inbounds out front. To Tipton, back to Missenhelder off the right. Penetrates, puts up the shot, no good. Leather carried away by Russell Bruce. The Wetzel shot up and good, and they foul. The Cane fans scream, "We want 100." Boy, I'll tell you, they're tough tonight. They're going for blood. They want 100. Newcastle by 7. Patel to shoot 2. Number 97 on the scoreboard. 97-89. Bobby will get one more. Bobby, good. 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Shot up and good. It's all over. Newcastle wins it 101-95. We're talking with a man that needs no introduction. That's the head basketball coach of the Red Hurricanes of Newcastle, Don Ross. And Don, just a tremendous performance. Your club was aching. They gave you a lot of opportunities.
Well, yes, stop running. We've got this from several coaches. Many points in a basketball game in high school, in Newcastle High School's history. So it was a new thing to us. I was around when there were times when we possibly could have, but we didn't do it because we didn't want to embarrass anyone. I think tonight, it wasn't a case of embarrassment. It was a case of survival. And if you don't score, why, you know, you're liable to find yourself down. They shot, I'd like to see their percentage. I haven't got the statistics yet, but they shot 61%, which is tremendous. 61% is outstanding. And we shot pretty well ourselves. So really a 61 and a 59% shooting from the field. This was an old-fashioned shootout from the NBA, I guess.
This time, as the Hurricane faithful celebrated once again, it was on to Hershey and the state championship game. And who was the most excited and proudest of all? Newcastle coach Don Ross.
My name is Don Ross. I'm the coach of the Newcastle High Red Hurricanes. Of course, the WPIAL champions, 1982. Well, you always have high expectations when you begin a year. We had expectations of perhaps winning the section. That was our first goal. And I guess you'd have to divide the season up into three parts. Number one, winning the section. Number two, of course, winning the WPIL. And thirdly, winning the state championship. And if we reached our first goal, then, of course, we could go on to number 2 and 3. But winning the first goal was probably the thing that we had in the back of our minds most of all, winning the section. And, of course, of the 3, that's the one thing we never did. But we did have expectations. We had 3 veterans back, not much size. But in a league such as ours, it's very difficult to get into a situation where you buck heads against people with better size, bigger size, that is, and try to win a section like this. But I think the kids proved themselves this year that they could, without any doubt, play with the best. How do I feel about the team? This is the kind of a team I think any coach would like to have. Low on what you'd call physical talent, but very high on what you'd call overall talent, as far as a team that has guts, a team that has class, a team that has discipline and playing together. I've coached up here now for 22 years, and I don't think we've ever had a team that played together as well as this team did. I think in watching this team play, it was quite a thrill to the crowd. They never did things like this in the history of Newcastle basketball. That is, run a fast break like they did, run a stall like they did, and play defense like they did. Now, we've had teams to do 1 or 2, but not all 3 of these things together. And I think this team showed that they could do it, and that's the reason they went as far as they did, playing together and being able to do these 3 things together with one another. Was I pleased with the community support? I have to say overwhelmed, not pleased. We started out the beginning of the year with crowds, not big ones, but crowds here in this gymnasium. And it soon got to a point where we had sellouts the last part of the year. A thing that, of course, every team likes to see. I think these kids liked the fact that people would support us by being here and applauding and showing favoritism when they stepped to the foul line, and giving a few boos and groans when the other team would get to their side of the foul line. But I think it pleased us all to realize that our support was as great as it was at the end of the season. And when we got into the second half of the season, the WPIL playoffs, to see 7,000 to 8,000 people down at the Civic Arena all chanting and shouting, "We are NC," I think that did more than anything else to turn this team around. The biggest thing that I did for the team, I think the biggest thing that I did really was just keep them together. They all had ability. That we know. I think everybody knew how much ability they had. They knew how much ability they had themselves. But just the idea of getting it out of them. There are times when I come in this gym and I'm tired after a Friday night game and I don't want to practice on a Saturday. I just as soon sleep in. But the thing that I had to do is, of course, it's like pulling teeth if you're a dentist, and that is to get them here, and once they're here, to get the most out of them. And I'd have to say, of all the teams I've coached, this was the easiest team to do this with. And that's saying an awful lot, considering the fact that, as I said, I've been here 22 years. These guys wanted to practice. If we didn't practice, they would want to know why. And this attests for the type of attitude that they had, and it showed the class that this group had. But really, this was basically the thing I had to do that I guess contributed the most to this team.